Hey guys, my name is Nathaniel COF, and my topic for today is going to be about the deep web. I want to start off by asking who here knows what the deep web is? Any hands? Okay. Anyone? For those of us that do know what it is, has anyone actually been on it? Anyone? Okay. Well, I actually did a research project on this couple quarters back, and for those of you guys that have no idea what I'm talking about, the deep web is a significantly big part of the online world, and it can only be accessed through the use of especially special, easily downloadable web browsers that give the user complete anonymity by utilizing a false IP address. I know it may sound cool, but in some parts it actually is. And if it were being used in a proper way, it'd actually be utilized in a proper manner. But it's actually kind of a disgusting place to come across because of all the illegal activity that you would see. The availability of the deep, which leads me to my main claim that the availability of the deep web promotes criminal activity. My three arguments to support my main claim are that the different legal cases found on the deep web, how easily accessible it is, and the government's involvement in it. And my first argument is that the deep web has enabled a plethora of illegal activity. One of the most commonly used internet browsers to access the deep web is called Tor, and Tor stands for the onion router. And what the onion router is basically when you're using the web normally, you're basically giving your websites your whole onion, which is like your whole identity. But what the onion system does is it peels back each layer, and it so that by the time that website gets your identity, they have no idea who you are, so they don't know your IP address. And according to Tor's website, the deep web was actually made in 2002 to give the freedom to surf the web anonymously because of the huge scandal about how the government is watching our every move. But obviously this freedom has been abused by criminals that take advantage of its anonymity in order to do the incriminating actions. For the incriminating actions I will be saying would be including the Silk Road, hitman for hire, webcam hacking, and child pornography. The Silk Road is basically a black market which can be found on the deep web. There's been cases of drugs being found on there, weaponry, organ sales, and a lot more really weird, disgusting things you can find on there. And another thing is hitman for hire, where you can actually hire people, where you can actually hire people to do hitman things. I don't really need to do much explaining for that. And webcam hacking, there's been cases found about people's webcams getting hacked into. They actually made a short movie on it. And according to LA Times, by an article in LA Times by Haley Branson Potts, there was an elementary school teacher who was found at the school they were working at after hours watching child pornography. And since child pornography is illegal, it was later found that he found the material through the use of the deep web. My second argument is that the deep web is easily accessible to the general public to download and install. They can easily download it on the torproject.com, and there's just a big button there that says download and install, and it does the whole process for you. There's no need for advanced technology, and when you finally have it downloaded, there's just a button there that says, "Oh, click here for a new identity." My third and final argument is that there is very minimal government control on the deep web. There's minimal government control because on Tor's website, because the government is actually using it, and they actually use the deep web in order to catch possible terrorists among the population, things like that. And I believe that the government can substantially minimize the legal activity by simply shutting Tor down, but because of our right to privacy, they can't do that type of thing. And in conclusion, the availability of the deep web allows criminals to anonymously do whatever they please. And although there have been many cases of people using it for illegal activity, its availability to the population and the government allows it to continue to exist today. Thank you.
All right, Nathaniel, the proposition is clearly stated. The secondary claims are previewed, but as they're stated in the preview, they're not really claims. They're just terms that you're using to kind of structure the speech, but they don't make any inferences. When you get to the body of the speech, then there's a little bit more of an inferential statement on each of those points. That helps a bit, but sometimes it's not always complete, and so I'm not exactly sure how this information is supposed to be put together in order to reach the conclusion that you're talking about. On the first point, you do signpost it when you get there, and basically your example consists of the criminal activities you mentioned, Hitman for Hire and Silk Road, and I don't doubt that those examples are true. I do think that we need a little bit more of a citation on this. This information comes from someplace, and I'm not getting any reference to where you found this information. Did you go on the Silk Road and buy some illegal material? Have you been on Hitman for Hire and offered your services up? I mean, those would be personal experiences, but we don't even get that kind of a reference. It's just you take it as a fait accompli that it does in fact exist. The transition to the second point was pretty clear. The second point isn't really an inference, it's just a piece of data that talks about how to obtain the browser that's necessary to get into the deep web that you're talking about. And it certainly sounds easy, although anytime you push a button that says download, it makes me freak out online, because there's all kinds of crud that could be spilling into your life when you do that. And apparently people want this kind of weird stuff spilling into their life. What I think you need to do is maybe find a little bit more information about how frequently it has been downloaded. Do you have any idea the number of users here? I know it's the deep web, so it's probably a little bit hard to figure out, but if there was some way of quantifying how much activity that goes on there is illegal, and if there was any, like I said, if you had particular cases, I think that would work. You could combine that with the first point to make that a little bit more convincing. Your argument here is this, that its ease of availability makes it more likely to increase people using it for these kinds of purposes. Well, the fact that it's easily available doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to use it for those purposes. It might just be that you got disgusting people and they are able to use it, but nobody else is incentivized by doing this. The third part's a little bit confusing because it doesn't really make an inference. There's a series of secondary or minor issues on this point, but I'm not exactly sure how I'm supposed to put them together. Here's one example of somebody who's using it. I think that probably would have been better on that first point. The principal, was it a principal, I think, who was looking at child pornography. That would probably be a good case on your first point. But the idea of closing it down, it says, you make it sound like the government could do this, but it won't do it because of privacy issues. Well, first of all, I got no information that told me that the government could do this, either legally or technically. Second, I don't know what the privacy issue is that applies here. Since everybody's anonymous already, how could you be violating anybody's privacy by getting rid of access to this thing? Now, it sounds like there's also an argument here that says that the government wants to allow this to continue to operate so that they can maybe trap bad guys and find all these people. There's potentially an argument there that makes this a little bit more controversial, but again, this is mostly asserted, and I think you need to do a better job of citing evidence on that point. All right, thank you.